my screen. If you log into that site, you will find this course, CSC 6091, Section M, Cryptography. So I think all of you, maybe all of you, you have already, you can see this course in your dashboard. On the left side, you can find that there is a dashboard. So if you click on that dashboard, this course will be visible. And I think most of you, you have been enrolled. I can check the participant list. So this is the participant list. Yeah, I think almost all of you, you have already been enrolled here. So if you have to enroll, like sometimes you will find that it will ask for an enrollment key. So that enrollment key is 1234, most probably, if I am not wrong. Okay. So once you have entered the enrollment key, then everything will be visible. So I have already uploaded the course outline and the PDF version of the book. So this will be our textbook, and I have already uploaded our first slide. So previously we used the old version of this book. So now I have found the 2017 version. So we are going to use this book, and I have also downloaded all the slides, the course materials of this book. So time to time, I'm going to upload those slides here. Okay. And our class tests also will be conducted through LMS. So all class tests will be conducted through this website. But your midterm and final, those two will be physical. So you have to come to the university to participate in your midterm and in your final. Okay, so and the date of the midterm and final, I think already given. You can contact with the MSCSC office. So if you are not in Dhaka, you have to arrange how you can attend midterm and final. So let me share the course outline. Okay, just give me a second. Okay, like there is a new version of Google Drive, and it has changed everything. Okay. So here is the course outline. So I have already uploaded the same version in LMS website. So what I have just explained, you have to enroll LMS maybe, but if you have already registered the course, I think you have already been enrolled to LMS. So this is our timing, and we are going to use this textbook, the second one, and not the 5th or 6th edition. We are going to use the 7th edition. and I have already uploaded the 7th edition, the PDF, in the website. And for course evaluation, for class attendance, it will carry 5%, and class test, right now I have planned to take 3 class tests. So out of 3, we are going to count 2. So we will consider 2 class tests out of 3. And since the midterm and final will be physically at UIU, so we are going back to our regular marks distribution. So midterm will carry 30% and final will carry 40%. But the syllabus of midterm and final will be different. So the materials that we are going to cover up to midterm, that will not carry to our final. Okay. So the materials, course materials, or the syllabus for midterm and final will be separate. So out of 3, we are going to consider 2, but remember that I'm not going to take any makeup class test. Like if you miss 1 class test, then it will be your responsibility to take part to other class test. Okay, 3টা থেকে আমরা 2টা কাউন্ট করব। Any question about this? কোনো কোয়েশ্চেন আছে এই ব্যাপারে, মার্কস ডিস্ট্রিবিউশনের ব্যাপারে? Okay, so right now I don't have any plan to give you any assignment or any presentation or something like that, or project. Okay.
No, sir.
So nothing will be like that. So try to understand the course materials, what we are going to study here, and the textbook is very helpful, and we are going to follow the textbook. Okay, so in fact we are going to use the slides that have been prepared for this textbook. So the textbook will be very helpful, and again we are going to upload the video lectures also. And for grading, this is the marks distribution that is provided from UIU. So remember that our pass mark is 55. So you have to get 55 out of 100 to pass this course. And D is the last grade, and the highest grade is A, and A is 90 and above. So most of the times what I do, I try to give you better grades. So okay, so several times I try to help you, but the problem is I cannot change any marks from your midterm and final. Okay, so be very careful about your midterm and final. So if you get say 20 out of 30 in the midterm, then that 20 will be added. Okay, I cannot increase your marks, anything. I can do anything in your midterm and final. So maybe I can consider your attendance or class test, like not selectively for all of you, definitely, but I cannot help you anything. I cannot do anything in your midterm and final. So be very careful about your midterm and final. Okay. And these are the topics that we previously covered. So hopefully this time also we are going to follow the same course syllabus. It will depend. Okay, so let's see, because we are going to use a latest book, the new edition of the book. So maybe some portions might be slightly changed. Okay, whatever, more or less this will be the course contents that we are going to cover before and after the midterm. So যদি কোনো কোয়েশ্চেন না থাকে তাহলে আমি স্টপ করতেছি। But all of you, again, like the main reason I don't like online classes is you don't follow my instructions. Okay, so the first thing I'm telling repeatedly again and again, you must log out from all of your Gmail account and just log in to the UIU email address. Okay, no other Google account, no other Gmail account. So you have to log out from all of your Google account and then just log in to EYU email address and then try to join the class. Okay, and I have already sent you invitation, so you should have that invitation. So from that invitation you can find this link. So only then you can join the class automatically. Otherwise, every time you want to join, I have to give you a permission. And that part I don't like, okay? Because now, right now, if I have to give a permission, I have to switch my screen and I have to stop this sharing. I have to go back to the Google Meet link. Then I have to give you permission and I have to come back here. So this is very much like annoying, okay, for me and for the rest of the students of the class. That is a very simple instruction and I hope all of you will be able to follow. Okay, and our class size is very small, so I'm expecting that you will ask me many questions during the class. You can ask me any question anytime, okay, whatever the question is. Even if this is a very silly question, you can ask me. I don't have any problem. Okay, so যদি কোয়েশ্চেন না থাকে দেন আমরা আমাদের ক্লাস লেকচার তাহলে শুরু করতে পারি। Okay, so hopefully my slide is visible now. So that's the cover of the book that we are going to use, Cryptography and Network Security. This is the 7th edition, and this they have said this is a global edition. I don't know what does it mean. Whatever, like this edition is for what I understood. This edition will be sold out throughout the world. Okay, so this is a very popular book in cryptography and network security. And why I have selected this book? Because this is a very easy book of cryptography. Okay, remember that cryptography is mainly a branch of mathematics. So there are many pure mathematicians and those who have no relationship with networking or computer or security and these things. So they have a huge contribution in the area of cryptography. So that's why cryptography is heavily dependent on math. So most of the textbook, you will find that those books are full of maths. But my target is not, my target is different, okay? So I don't want to teach you those maths here. Definitely we have to cover some of the math, but I will try my best to make those mathematics part easy. And that's why I have selected this book, because they have explained those mathematics part very easily, and they have also added a new section in this book, that is chapter 2, that is based on the required mathematics to understand the rest of the part. Okay, so I have not looked at like detail of that section yet. So maybe we will go through the materials of that section, or maybe we will add those materials to the related portions. Okay, so whatever it is, that section will help you to understand the necessary mathematical part. Okay, but don't worry, I will try my best. Again, I will try my best to make those conception as much easy as I can. So that's why I have selected this book. And another reason is this cryptography, they are discussing mainly the related part that is necessary for network security. Okay, so that's why this is like our interest, and that's why I have selected this book. So this is not a pure cryptography book. That's what I am trying to say. And the author is William Stallings. He is also a very popular author, especially for the beginners. Okay, because he is a very popular author for textbook. He has written, I think, at least 20 textbook, and you will find some of the books, those are best in the bestseller category. And why again? Because he explains very easily the conception and all those things, and sometimes he hides the like detailed part, maybe that is too difficult or too advanced. So that's why his books are very popular. Okay, and another reason is in our class we have a very mixed background, so that's why I have to maintain a balance, okay, between the standard and the hardness. So that's why I have selected this book. That's the main reason. So again, if you go to our LMS site, what I have just mentioned, you will find the PDF of that book. But if you want to collect that book, you are most welcome. Okay, this will be a very helpful book for this area, especially the cyber security and those area. So all the slides I'm going to use for this book, I have not prepared the slides. You can easily find out the name of Pearson Education at the end, like at the bottom left side, left corner of the slide. So I have collected these slides from Pearson Education, and these slides are not like open access. So not like that anyone can download the slides. These are only for the course instructors. Okay, so somehow I have managed one of my friends who is teaching in a foreign university, and from him I have collected these slides. So what I'm going to do, sometimes I will edit some of the slides. Okay, so time to time I will insert some of the materials, and maybe I can also remove some of the materials. So what you have to do, first you have to go through the slides and definitely my lectures, and then if you like compare the content of the slide with the textbook, then you will easily understand which materials we have covered. Okay, so whatever material you will find in the slide, you will understand that that is in our syllabus. স্লাইডে যা যা থাকবে সবকিছু আমাদের সিলেবাসে থাকবে। তো স্লাইডের ম্যাটেরিয়ালগুলোকে বইয়ের পিডিএফ এর সাথে কম্পেয়ার করলেই আপনারা বুঝে যাবেন যে আসলে আমাদের সিলেবাসটা কতটুকু। মানে কিছু কিছু পার্ট এরকম থাকতে পারে যেটা আমি আসলে কভার করব না, সেগুলোকে আমি স্লাইড থেকে সরাই ফেলছি। Okay, so you have to compare the contents of the slide with the textbook, then you can easily understand which part I have covered in the class. Okay, so before starting my lecture or before starting our first class, we want to see what is the target of this course or which area we are going to cover in this course. Okay, so this is a slide. I also used this slide in our network security to explain the domain of our network security course. So now I'm going to use the same slide to explain the domain of our cryptography course. So if you look at the bottom, you will find two basic blocks. The first one is algorithmic number theory. So this is our first basic, that is number theory. And the second one is computational complexity.
And remember that these two areas are mainly based on mathematics. Okay, and these areas or these domains or these theories and all these things exist even before we invented computers and these things. That means even before the digital world. Okay, so if you go back to like the beginning of 1900, maybe 1920, 30, 40, you will find that many like mathematical definitions or theories, that is number theory and those things, those exist even at that period. Okay, now based on those things, again mainly the mathematicians, they have developed some cryptographic primitives, and here we are saying that this is the building blocks. Building blocks for what? Building blocks for security protocols. Say for example SSL or IPsec, these protocols are based on like encryption technique, or these protocols are based on hash function, or like digital signatures and all those things. So in this course, we are going to look at these building blocks. Okay, so our target is to study the cryptographic primitives. So you can easily understand, if you want to understand very clearly the cryptographic primitives, you cannot avoid number theory. Okay, and the computational complexity and all these things. Okay, and again, I'm making it very clear that we are not going to teach any math here, but some portions of the math will be required, but I promise that I will make those theories as simple as I can. Okay, so if I can understand, I am very much confident that I will be able to make you understand. So if I don't understand, I'm not going to include that in the syllabus. Okay, don't worry. So this is our goal here, that we want to study the cryptographic primitives and those building blocks. And in our network security course, we mainly cover these areas. Okay, that's the main idea. So there is no prerequisite, like it's not like that, that cryptography is the prerequisite of network security. But definitely if you complete cryptography first, then it will give you some kind of advantage. Okay, so it will make you like your life will be easier for understanding those security protocols. Now, cryptographic algorithms and protocols, we can divide them, or we can make like group them into four main areas. Okay, so the first one is symmetric encryption, and the next one is asymmetric encryption. So mainly these two are same, like the category is same, you can consider, because both of them are encryption. Okay, so although they have mentioned four, but you easily understand that these two are, in some point they are same, they are encryption. And then another category is integrity, and another one is authentication. Okay, so the encryption, they have divided encryption into symmetric encryption and asymmetric encryption. So don't worry, we will explain everything like later. Not like that you have to understand everything right now, but from the name you can understand that this is symmetric. So there is some similarity between sender and receiver, and this is asymmetric. So there is some dissimilarity or difference between sender and receiver. So here they have not explained how they work. Rather, they have said what is the use of symmetric encryption. So symmetric encryption is used to conceal the contents of blocks. So if you want to encrypt a large block or stream of data, and it might be any size. Okay, so mainly symmetric encryption is being used for encrypting data. Okay, what is data? Data might be a message, files, data might be even another keys, or even data might be a password. So that is the use of symmetric encryption. So when we want to send a large volume of data, we always prefer symmetric encryption. But asymmetric encryption is used to conceal small blocks. That is the main difference. Okay, a small blocks of data, such as only the encryption key itself, just the key, or maybe you have calculated a hash, so the output of hash is always a fixed small size, maybe 256 bit or 64 bit, something like that. So asymmetric encryption is being used just to encrypt only that output of the hash. So the big difference is symmetric encryption is used for any size of data, might be large or small, but asymmetric encryption mainly used to encrypt small blocks of data. Okay, so and which is used for digital signature. So whenever you think about digital signature, you must use asymmetric encryption. So why symmetric encryption for large data and asymmetric encryption for small data? Because symmetric encryption is much faster, way beyond faster than the asymmetric encryption. Why this is faster? Because that is the thing we are going to study here, okay, in this course. But the main idea is why? Because the math of symmetric encryption or the algorithm of the symmetric encryption is very fast. Okay, say if I tell you just to add two numbers, and if I tell you to multiply those two numbers, so definitely you can add way beyond faster than multiplication, because for a single multiplication actually you need many addition and those things. Okay, so just like that. So the algorithm or the math of symmetric encryption is way beyond faster than the asymmetric encryption. That's the main reason, no other reason. Now the data integrity algorithm. So why we use data integrity? Integrity means you have already saved something, or maybe you are sending some value, so nobody can change those values. So alteration, integrity will protect you from any kind of alteration. That's the main idea. So this is used to protect blocks of data such as messages from alteration. Now, finally, the authentication protocol. These schemes are based on the use of cryptographic algorithms and designed to authenticate the identity. Okay, so if you want to authenticate the identity, then you use the authentication protocols. Now, so the field of network and internet security, okay, they have mixed these two together in a single like a definition or single wording. So they are just saying that you can just consider that network security and internet security are same thing. Okay, why? Because internet is the largest network right now. Okay, internet is one kind of network, right? No doubt about that. And internet is the largest, and it becomes the de facto network right now. So that's why if you can protect internet, you can consider that you have already, like, you have protected most of the network. So what is that? It consists of, it measures to deter, prevent, detect, and correct. Okay, so you can understand that these verbs, they have separate meanings, right? Definitely deter, prevent, and detect, they are not same. And definitely correct is when there is some error, then you have to correct. So this is some kind of measure. Why? To deter, prevent, detect, and correct security violations that involves the transmission of information. Okay, so that's why this transmission of information is very important to us, because internet means you are sending some data and you are receiving something, right? So that's why this transmission of information is very important. So that means when we are transmitting some information, we will make sure that there will be no security violation, and we will take all the measures to deter, prevent, and detect and correct any kind of security violation. Okay, that's the idea of internet security or network security. So what is computer security? Okay, again, don't worry about these definitions. Okay, that much. Hopefully, I'm not going to give you any kind of definition like this in the exam. Okay, so don't worry about what they have written here exactly, or don't try to memorize everything. Okay, don't create pressure on your brain. Don't try to memorize everything. So what is computer security? Here NIST is, I forgot the whole name, but NIST is the National Institute for USA, who are responsible for like these securities and all those things. So they have, I guess they have published some computer security handbook, and in that handbook they have defined the term computer security as the protection afforded to an automated information system. So it will be automated, not manual, in order to attain the applicable objectives of preserving the, like we can pick the keyword here. So they want to preserve, right? They want to preserve what? They want to preserve the integrity, the availability, and confidentiality of information system resources. Okay, that includes hardware, software, firmware, information, data, telecommunications, all those things. So that's the definition that NIST has given in their computer security handbook. So from that definition, we can find three keywords, right? Integrity, availability, and confidentiality. So here they have explained those three keywords in more details. Okay, now the term confidentiality again can be divided into data confidentiality. So this is one kind of confidentiality, and another one is privacy. So from the word, I think this is very much explicit. What is the meaning of data confidentiality and what is the meaning of privacy? So data confidentiality assures that private or confidential information is not made available or disclosed. So if some information is confidential, say for example, if we say that your result will be confidential, then we should not make that confidential information disclosed or available to unauthorized individual. Okay, so confidential does not mean that this is confidential for everybody in the world. Confidential means there is a list of authorized persons who can access, who can read that information. So outside that list, no one will be able to access that information. Only then we will say, okay, we are maintaining data confidentiality. Okay, so you can assume that there is a list of authorized individuals, so they will be able to understand or they will be able to access the information, even the confidential information. So that is the definition of confidentiality. Now, what is privacy? When we say privacy, you will understand there is some individual control. Okay, so every time you will understand that whenever we say privacy, that means there should be a control of the owner of the data. Okay, what is the difference in data confidentiality? We just say that, okay, we assume that there is an authorized and authorized list of users. But in case of privacy, that authorized list of users will be defined by the owner of the data. Okay, so if I am owner of some data, then I will have some control who will be able to access my data. So what is privacy? It assures that individuals control or influence. So who is that individual? Definitely the owner of the data. So individual control or influence. So I may have even some fine-grained control. What is fine-grained control? Say I have different kind of information. My academic information is one information. My financial information is another kind of information. My health related information is another kind of information. So maybe I can give access to my faculty members to my academic information, but definitely I don't want them to see my health related information. Okay, so not only I will control like who will get access to my data, on top of that I will also control what portion or what kind of information will be available to them. So there will be some individual controls or influence what information related to them. Okay, so that them means that owner of the data. Same. Okay, so what information related to them may be collected and stored, and by whom and to whom what information may be disclosed. Okay, so that is called privacy. Say, for example, you are going to see a doctor and then they will collect some background information from you. Most of the times, like it has also started in our country, like whenever you will see a doctor, there will be some assistant and they will give you a form like to fill up, like what is your habit, what allergy you have, or some other maybe information, your weight, your height, and all those things. So now the question is, what will be the use of that information? Okay, so my normal expectation is only the doctor will be able to see that information. Maybe I am giving even my phone number and my email address also. But if they give those information to a third party, then they can easily sort out which drugs or what kind of medical like equipments or medical things I'm going to use. Okay, so then they will send me some uh, advertisement and maybe they will call me, do you want to buy this, do you want to buy that, and all those things. So definitely we don't want that, right? So I should have some control, or they should take a permission for me like what will be the use of that information. So whenever say you are participating to a survey, so they will definitely inform you what will be the use of the survey data. Okay, so that is related to privacy. Any question?
No, sir.
Okay, now integrity. So for integrity, there they have said two kind of integrity. So normally whenever we say integrity, we can easily understand the data integrity. Data integrity means, say I am maintaining some database, so I have stored some data in my database. So definitely my expectation will be that data should not be changed or deleted or modified by some unauthorized user, right? So that is called data integrity. So data integrity assures that information and programs are changed only in a specified and authorized manner. Okay, so it has never said that nobody can change it. Definitely, somebody can change some data, but only the authorized person and authorized manner they can change some information or some data. So if I am sending something through the internet, definitely my expectation will be what I am sending, exactly the same data will be received at the receiver end. Okay, so that is data integrity. Now, another kind of integrity is system integrity. So, system integrity means, say, you are using a calculator. So, now you are multiplying, say, two numbers. So, it is giving you a result. Maybe after some time, you are multiplying the same two numbers. So definitely your expectation will be it will return back the same value. So if it does not return back the same value, definitely you will understand there is some kind of malfunction. That means the calculator is not working properly. That means you will conclude there is some integrity problem. Okay, so system integrity means a system will perform its intended function. So I have written a software, I have written a code to do something. Maybe I have written a code to sort 1000 numbers, to sort some numbers and maybe ascending order or descending order. So definitely it will always give me the correct result. So if it does not perform its intended function in an unimpaired manner, okay, so it should be free from deliberate or inadvertent unauthorized manipulation of the system. So the system should not be manipulated. No one can manipulate a system, or in like jargon we can say no one will be able to hack a system and to control a system. Okay, say this is a web server, so no one will be able to control that web server to change something from the web server. Okay, or maybe it's a database server, whatever it is. So then we will say that is system integrity. Finally, when we say availability, it means a system or a service will be available when it is needed. Okay, so availability assures that systems work promptly and service is not denied, okay, to authorized users. So if I have purchased, say right now there is a T20 World Cup, right? So if you purchase a video stream from an authorized dealer, so you have already paid and the system has committed that it will deliver you the video streaming. So whenever you want to watch a game, it will properly stream the, it should properly stream the video. So it cannot deny because you have already paid and you are an authorized user to receive that video stream. Okay, so the system should be available. That's why this is called availability. The system should be available whenever you send a request. Why? Because you are an authorized user. You have already paid for that video stream. So here we can draw a, I think this is a pentagon, right? Yes, this is a pentagon, 5 sides. So they have just drawn something like that. Again, like don't consider that this is the only way to express data and services and these things. This is just one kind of presentation from this book. Now, if there is a breach of security, sometimes we define the severity and we want to give them some levels like low, moderate, high, something like that. So when the loss could be expected to have a limited adverse, okay, to like some individual or on some organization, then we can think that, okay, this is low, like the breach of security level or impact is low. Again, like, don't consider that these definitions are fixed or something like that. Just they have just explained in their own ways. So what is moderate? The loss could be expected to have a serious adverse effect on organizational operations. Then you can consider that this is moderate. And when the loss could be expected to have a severe or catastrophic adverse effect on organizational operations. Okay, so then you can think that, okay, the security level or the breach is high. Okay, so for example, if you find that the Facebook is down, you cannot access your Facebook account, maybe you can consider that this is kind of moderate. And if some of the services of maybe Facebook is accessible, you can access your account, but maybe some of the services are not available, maybe you can say, okay, this is low. But if the Facebook site is down and after you log in, if you find that some of your information or some of your data have been deleted or stolen, then definitely this is high, right? Just I'm giving my like own example. Maybe you can give your own example too. Just try to explain what is low and what is moderate and what is high. Okay, maybe something like that. Now, when we want to provide computer security, there are many challenges. Okay, so here they have listed few of the challenges. The first thing is security is not simple. Okay, it's not possible that you will provide security in a very simple manner. Simple means like with very low computational cost, or like you cannot assume that, okay, I will give you security, but it will not uh, hamper any of your service, or you don't have to change anything, everything will be as it is. Okay, it's not like that. Whenever you want to add some security, you have to, like, there are some baggages, okay, that you have to uh, keep in your mind. And the second point is, whenever you think about security features that you want to consider, you have to think about the potential attacks. Okay, so you have to think from the attacker's point of view. So the attackers will try to find your weakest link. Okay, so you have to think, what are my weak links, or which part are vulnerable. So then you can add your security features. Okay, so you have to think about the potential attackers and in which area they will target. Okay, which software or hardware or maybe some servers or some communication link, whatever it is, or some protocol. You have to think holistically. Now, the procedures used to provide particular services are often counterintuitive. Okay, counterintuitive means maybe you think in your own way. Normally, you think, okay, maybe that's the way to secure that part, but maybe that's not the way. Okay, because this point is very much closely related to this point. Okay, because you have to like analyze your system in terms of potential attacks, and then you will be able to understand what security features are needed or what will be the procedures to provide a particular services. Okay, so it is necessary to decide where to use the various security mechanisms. Okay, where to use means whether you have to protect your communication protocols or your uh, like in your softwares or maybe in your hardware or maybe in your container like web server and those types of containers. Okay, that's the middleware. So where you want to add your security mechanisms, that you have to decide. Then it needs constant monitoring. It's not like that, okay, I have added some security services, security features, and now I am safe. Okay, so you need constant monitoring. Say, for example, the intrusion detection system or firewall, those systems constantly monitor your network traffic. Okay, it's too often an afterthought. Afterthought means যেটাকে আমরা বাংলাদেশে বলি, যে বাংলায় বলি চোর পারলে বুদ্ধি বাড়ে, সেই টাইপের আর কি। মানে কিছু একটা হয়ে গেছে, তারপর আমরা বুঝি আচ্ছা তাহলে তো এখন একটা কিছু করা দরকার। ওকে, সো when something is happened, like there is some serious breach, then we take some initiative. Okay, no, we have to protect our server or we have to protect our data. Security mechanisms typically involve more than a particular algorithm or protocol. So, say for example, the firewall or the intrusion detection system, they are a complete solution. Okay, so if you think about those solutions, a intrusion detection system or firewall that is not built just on a particular algorithm or like a particular encryption or something like that. It's a combination of different algorithms and different protocols. Security is essentially a battle of wits between a perpetrator and the designer. Okay, so there will be always attackers. So they will try to invade your system. They will try to attack your system. And the network security designers, they will try to protect the system. That's why they have said it's a continuous battle. Okay, because both parties, they always they introduce new mechanisms, new protocols, new hardware, software. So every day they are learning new techniques. So they will have to upgrade themselves all the time. And another point is there is little benefit from security investment is perceived until a security failure occurs. The thing is, for security, you have to invest some money, you have to invest your working hour. So there is some cost related to security. So maybe you have to convince your high level management, look, we need these types of security services. So we have to spend some money. And finally, you are able to convince them. So they have spent that amount of money, and like they have provide you the necessary manpower and all those things. But it has no return. Okay, because most of the investment you will be able to see some return, but for security there is no return, because you want to protect your system and maybe your system is protected. So then the high level management, they will think, did we really need that thing? Do we really need to invest this amount of money? So they will only understand when until a security failure occurs. That's why they have said like it has little benefit in terms of investment. And finally, strong security is often viewed as an impediment to efficient and user-friendly operation. Say, for example, for authentication, so far, password is the like most user-friendly mechanism for authentication. But right now, you will find that many websites like Google and other like websites, they are adding two-factor authentication or maybe some other kind of authentication. So whenever you will add those strong security, even in case of password, if I don't define the formation of the password, just like say if I say only it will be 8 character or maybe 6 character, then it's very easy from user's point of view. But if I say, okay, you have to use that special character, there must be some numeric, there must be some small letter, some capital letter, you cannot use your date of birth, you cannot use any part of your name, and all those things. So that will provide a strong password. But from user's point of view, it's very difficult for them to remember that strong password. Okay, so whenever we want to implement, we want to introduce strong security, it creates like some negative impression on the users. Why? Because it's not that much user friendly anymore. So that's why we have to always keep some balance. Like the balance is what information you want to protect and how much important that information is. Okay, so based on that, you have to select like what types of security you want to provide. Okay, so it's always related what you want to protect. Okay, say for example, like if in your house you have kept some diamond and the price of those diamonds are maybe say few million taka or few $1,000,000, then definitely you want to like provide very strong security in your house, maybe some CC camera and all those like stuff. But if you have nothing in your house, so who cares about the security of that house, right? So it depends on what information and how much value that information carries. Okay, so what information you want to protect. Now, OSI is the open system, uh, I forgot, maybe interconnect or something like that. So this is one of the organizations who are responsible for designing the 7-layer uh, network architecture, and there are like they have some contribution in network areas and security areas. So they have designed a security architecture, and it has 3 components. The first one is security attack, then security mechanism, and finally security service. Okay, so the security attack is any action then that compromises the security of information owned by an organization. Okay, so this is definitely any kind of action, and due to that attack, it will compromise the security of information owned by an organization. So I think this is quite understandable what is attack. So sometimes we mixes up between mechanism and service. Okay, so just try to understand that mechanism is one of the tools for a service. Okay, so a service means you just think from user's point of view. Okay, so from user's point of view, I need this service. So how you will provide that service, that's not my headache. Okay, but those who implement that service, they need some underlying mechanism to provide that service. That means a service is composed of one or more mechanisms. Okay, so from user's point of view, we only care about service, we don't care about mechanism. But from the expert's point of view, like who designed the services, they care, they know about some specific mechanisms. So what is a security mechanism? This is a process that is designed to detect, prevent, or recover from a security attack. So through a mechanism, you can detect, or you can prevent, or recover, okay, from a security attack. So what is a security service? This is a processing or communication service. Okay, processing means you are processing some data or some information, and communication means you are sending something. So this is a processing or communication service that enhances the security of the data processing systems and the information transfers of an organization. So what I just said, this is from user's point of view. You want to transfer some information, or you want to process some information or some data. That's why you need some security services. So to provide that security services, the designers or those who will implement, they need some kind of mechanisms. Say, for example, I can say that I want confidentiality when I'm transferring some data. So this confidentiality, is this a service or a mechanism? Can anybody tell me? Like
Service.
service. So I am an user and I want to send some data. So I am demanding confidentiality service. So my expectation is my data will be confidential during transmission. Now the question is, this is a service. So now the question is, what mechanism can provide confidentiality? So that we understand, we know. If you don't know, no problem. You will eventually know from this course that we need encryption to provide confidentiality. Okay, so that's the relationship between a mechanism and a service. So security services is intended to counter security attacks, and they make use of, that's what they have said, they make use of one or more security mechanisms. Okay, so sometimes we need more than one mechanisms to provide a single service. Okay, now if we think about the threats and attacks, so these two words are very important for this course, and sometimes we mix up between these two words. Okay, And now those who have completed network security, you will find very small portion that we have some overlap in this introduction chapter. Okay, right now we are discussing the first chapter of the book, that is the first one, that is introduction. Okay, so a very few portions you will find some overlap, so I think that's okay. Okay, now what is the definition of threat and what is the definition of attack, or what is the difference between these two? So these definitions have been taken from RFC 4949. So what is RFC? RFC is request for comment. So this R is request, then F is for, and C is comment. So RFC is one kind of specification. So there is a very influential body which is known as IETF. Okay, so just like the one we have said here, that is OSI or OZ. So we have another one, and in fact IETF is more important for us. Okay, not OSI or other specification body. So IETF stands for Internet Engineering Task Force. So that IETF or Internet Engineering Task, oh, I made a mistake. That is IETF. Okay, so the IETF, they publish specification for internet related protocols, not only security, the whole internet. So they have thousands of specification, and all of their specifications start with RFC and then a number. And this number is increasing monotonically. I think right now maybe they have 9,000 or something like that. So IETF again stands for Internet Engineering Task Force. This is an organization. So even if you want, you can join the organization and you can try to contribute. But definitely you must be knowledgeable, okay? And you should be expert in that area. So they deal with any kind of protocol that is related to internet. So whatever protocol you use, that is TCP, UDP, IP version 4, IP version 6, SIP, HTTP, or video streaming protocols. So all those protocols or network management protocols, all those protocols have been standardized by the IETF or WebRTC. Maybe you have heard the name of WebRTC and those things. So they have defined the definition that what is threat and what is attack. So threat is a potential for violation of security. So that means you have not violated anything yet. You have not done anything. This is just a potential, okay? So there is a very good chance that using this threat, you can violate the security. Okay, so threat is a potential for violation of security which exists when there is a circumstance, capability, action, or event that could breach. Okay, so that has not breached yet, but that could breach security and cause harm. So that means threat is a possible danger that might exploit a vulnerability. Okay, so here we have said previously that you have to find out the potential attacks, right? So potential attack means you have to identify the threat of your system. So if you can identify the threat, then you can address those threats. So if you can address all your threats, there is a very good chance that you can eliminate, you can prevent a future attack. But if a threat exists in your system, there is a very good chance that some attacker will exploit that threat, and the attacker will be able to launch a successful attack. So what is an attack? So an attack is an assault on system security that derives from an intelligent threat. So that means there was a threat, previously there was a threat, and an attacker has derived an attack from that threat. So that is an intelligent act, that is a deliberate attempt. Okay, remember that an attack is always a deliberate attempt. So unintentional error is not an attack. There is a big difference between error and attack. Say for example, I am sending some data, and due to some noise, or maybe some port was damaged, or some link was like due to some interference and some noise, maybe some portion of my data has been lost, or maybe some portion of my data has become erroneous, like some of my bits 0 and 1 have been interchanged and something like that. So that is an error during data transmission. So that is not a deliberate task, that is not a deliberate attempt. So that is not an attack. But if I am sending something and there is an attacker in the middle of the transmission, and who has deliberately modified my information, then definitely that is an attack. Okay, so it's a deliberate attempt to evade security services and violate the security policy of a system. So every system there should be some kind of security policy. So what is security policy? Say for example, security policy will tell you, if we go back here, yes, maybe the security policy will tell you who will be able to read some confidential data. So here we have said authorized individual, right? So who are the authorized individuals? That will be defined by your security policy. So by launching an attack, if I can read some confidential information and my name or my role is not in that authorized list, so that means I am an unauthorized person. So being an unauthorized person, if I can read some sensitive data, then definitely there is a violation of security policy of a system. Okay, so that means I was able to launch an attack. Now, if we think about the security attacks, so there is a means of classifying security attack. Okay, so we can classify the security attacks, like if we divide the attacks, what type of attack is this? So this classification is found in RFC 4949, the one just we have mentioned before, and also in X800. So what is this X? So X series is another specifications, just like RFC. Okay, but IETF does not publish this X series. The OZ, the one that we mentioned earlier, OSI, they published these X series. Okay, so in that X800 and also in RFC 4949, we can find two types of attack. One is passive attack and another one is active attack. So a passive attack attempts to learn or make use of information from the system, okay, but does not affect system resources. So that means through a passive attack, you will not affect the system. That means you will not change any value, you will not modify any value. So the attacker, তারা উজু করো, আমিও নামাজ পড়বো, আমরা একসাথে পড়বো। ব্রেক দিব, তারপর নামাজ পড়বো। So a passive attacker attempts to learn or make use of information. So the attacker will not modify any information or anything, any resources. Okay, that's the main idea. And in case of an active attack, the attacker will alter the system resources, okay, or affect their operation. Say for example, here they have given two diagrams. So in case of passive attack, so here we have Bob and we have Alice. So Bob and Alice, they are honest and they are naive. Okay, sometimes we also use the word naive. So they are honest, they are naive, they are regular users, and Dart is the attacker. Okay, so Bob is sending something to Alice through internet or other communication protocols. So Dart is a passive attacker. So Dart is just keeping copy of the messages. And none of them, Bob or Alice, they are aware of this attack. So then we say that this is one kind of passive attack. Okay. In case of active attack, here Bob is sending some messages to Alice, but Dart is capturing this message first. And then Dart is modifying that message, and Dart is maybe sending that modified message to Alice. Okay, so then we say that this is one kind of active attack. So the passive attack, we divide the passive attack into two areas, or we have identified two types of passive attacks. The first one is release of message contents, and another one is traffic analysis. So the passive attacks, they are in the nature of eavesdropping. Okay, so here from this diagram you can understand what is eavesdropping, যেটাকে আমরা বাংলায় ওই যে আড়ি পেতে শোনা বলি আর কি, মানে মানে আমি হাইড করে আমি লুকায় লুকায় যদি কিছু কথা শুনি আর কি. So this is the nature of eavesdropping or monitoring. Okay, so I can eavesdrop or I can monitor some transmission. So the goal of the opponent means the attacker, is to obtain information that is being transmitted. So the goal is to obtain some information that is being transmitted. Okay, so there are two types. One is release of message content and another one is traffic analysis. So what is release of message content? So if we come to this diagram, the first one, okay, here. So Bob is sending some messages to Alice, but Dart is keeping copy of those messages. So definitely Dart is able to see what Bob is sending to Alice. Okay, so here we consider maybe they are not using any kind of encryption. So then we can say that this is one kind of release of message contents. Now you can say that, okay, maybe they are sending messages in encrypted form. So Bob is maybe sending some encrypted data to Alice. If you go through the book, you will find all the explanations, what I'm saying. Okay, they have explained everything. So maybe Bob is sending something in encrypted form to Alice. Now we can say, okay, even Dart can capture those encrypted messages. Dart cannot understand. Why? Because this is encrypted. But even then, Dart can perform some kind of analysis. Say, what types of traffic is this? Okay, so if Dart can see there are thousands of packet is transmitting from Bob's side to Alice's side, thousands of packets, and all the packets, they have some fixed size, maybe 400 bytes or 400 kilobytes, fixed size packet, and there are thousands of packets. Maybe in every minute they are sending, say, a few thousand packets. Then Dart can easily understand they are sending some video transmission data. Okay, so Dart can perform some kind of traffic analysis from the length, frequency, or even on which date or which day they are transmitting, or at which time they are transmitting data. Okay, so even using encryption, this is difficult to protect from traffic analysis. Okay, so next we want to look at the active attack, but before that I want to give a break. আর আপনারা যে একদমই কথাবার্তা না বলেন তাহলে আমি জানি না, আমি মানে আর ইউ স্লিপিং অর আর ইউ দেয়ার?
না স্যার, শুনছি।
আচ্ছা, ওকে।
স্যার
আচ্ছা,
আমাদের কি নামাজের ব্রেক?
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, একটা ব্রেক দিচ্ছি আমি 5 to 7 মিনিটস, ওকে, তার বেশি না। আর আমি একটু পানি খেয়ে আসি, একটু নামাজও পড়ে আসি, আপনারাও যা করছেন করেছেন, ওকে।
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, so I'm back. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now,
Yes, sir.
okay, thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
So now we want to look at the active attack. So the main difference is in case of active attack, there will be attempt to alter the system resources. Alter means modify, delete, change, whatever it is. So the presence of the attacker will be visible. Okay, so that's the main difference. The presence of the passive attacker is very difficult to detect. Okay, like whether there is an attacker or not. But in case of active attack, the presence is visible. So the active attacker is involved in some modification of the data stream, or maybe the creation of a false stream. Creation of a false stream means maybe Alice is not sending anything to Bob, but the attacker will send on behalf of Alice. The attacker is sending in the name of Alice. So that is kind of a false stream. It is difficult to prevent because of the wide variety of potential physical, software, and network vulnerabilities. So what is the goal? Goal is to detect attacks and to recover from any disruption or delays caused by them. So we can divide the active attacks into four categories. Like definitely there are other categories, but broadly there are four types of categories. So the first one is masquerade. So in case of masquerade, it takes place when one entity pretends to be a different entity. Okay, so what I just said, like maybe we have Alice and we have Bob, but right now Alice is not sending anything to Bob, and say this is our network. Now we have Darth here, and Darth is actually sending something to Bob, but he is pretending that this is coming from Alice. Okay, so maybe he knows the identity or the authentication mechanism of Alice, or maybe he knows the pattern of messages, like how Alice communicates, whatever it is. He is not Alice, but he is pretending to be Alice. Then we say that this is kind of masquerade attack. So only pretending to be Alice is not enough, right? What is the benefit? So definitely masquerade usually includes one of the other form of active attack. So masquerade is not the end. Through masquerade attack, we try to modify, or we try to replay, or maybe we try to introduce denial of service. So masquerade is just the starting. Then we like launch some other active attacks. That's what they have here said. Like usually includes one or more other forms of active attack. So there is another kind of active attack, and which is also very close to masquerade, and that is replay. So replay or replay, whatever you say, it involves the passive capture. So here we have said the release of message contents. That means I am capturing some messages, right? So I can capture some of the messages, and later I can replay those messages. So it involves the passive capture of a data unit and its subsequent retransmission to reproduce an unauthorized effect. So say Alice is sending some messages to Bob, and they are, what I said, they are honest, they are naive. Darth is capturing those messages, and later when Alice is offline, now Darth is replaying those old messages to Bob. And Darth is pretending, look, these messages are coming from Alice. So you can easily understand Darth is launching both masquerade and replay at the same time. Okay. So somehow we have to differentiate between a new message and a replayed message. if there is a mechanism, and using that mechanism Bob can differentiate, okay, this is a new message, or this is an old message and Dart is resending or replaying those old messages. So what might be that mechanism? One way is we can use a timestamp. So timestamp is very popular in IP and TCP and all those protocols. If you go through the IP protocol header, you will find that there is a timestamp. So in that timestamp, it is written like what day, hour, minute, and even second, millisecond too. So if Bob can see, okay, this is an old message, how Bob can understand? Just from the timestamp, okay? So then Bob can just ignore those old messages. This is one way. Another method might be using a counter that increases one by one. So from that counter, Bob can easily understand whether this is a new message or a previously received message. So then also Bob can ignore those replayed messages. So that means we have some mechanism to prevent the replay attack. Now, a very dangerous attack is modification of messages. So in that case, the attacker can modify some portion of a legitimate message that is altered, or messages are delayed. Okay, maybe the attacker will capture the messages and maybe the attacker will send those messages sometimes later, delayed, or even sometimes reordered. Reordered means maybe the first message will be sent, then instead of the second message, the attacker will do something so that after the first, the third message will be sent. And maybe then the second message will be sent. So that means the ordering of the messages will be altered. Okay, and it totally depends on the protocol, which protocol you are using. There might be some effect, there might not be some effect. But that is also one kind of attack. That's what we are saying. But remember that this some portion of legitimate message, this is not very easy, especially if we use encryption and other techniques. So in that case, the attacker must have full control over the system. That means the attacker must know the encryption decryption key and all the meanings and the ordering of the fields inside a message. So the attacker will have the full control over the system. Only then the attacker can modify some portion of the messages. Finally, we have denial of service. We also say this as DOS attack. I think all of you know or at least heard the term DOS, DOS. So denial of service means D for denial. Okay. So what is denial? Denial means you are stopping something, or you are denying someone or denying some service. So it prevents or inhibits the normal use or management of communication facilities. So say if I have purchased some service from a server and somehow the attacker can prevent the server from providing me that service. Okay, think about a web server. If the attacker can prevent a web server from hosting some particular website, then this is a denial of service attack. Or for accessing a web server or website, we must use DNS. So maybe the attacker is not attacking the web server. The web server is running and everything is fine at that end. But the attacker is attacking the DNS server. And by attacking the DNS server, the attacker is diverting traffics. And that's why you cannot reach the web server. Remember that the web server is running, it's fine, but you cannot reach the web server. So that is also one kind of denial, right? Disruption. So that is known as denial of service attack. Okay. So there is no category or like no exact definition what is DOS. DOS is somehow if you can prevent someone from receiving a legitimate service. That is just denial of service attack. Okay.
স্যার ইন দ্যাট কেস যদি আমার সিস্টেমের বা আমার অ্যালগোরিদমের কারণে আমার কোনো প্রসিডিউর রান হতে সময় লাগে, সেটাও কি আমার ডজের মধ্যে পড়বে?
না, in that case this is not a DOS attack. In fact, this is not an attack, because attack means there is some attacker and who is deliberately creating or launching that attack. If my algorithm is not efficient or my web server has not enough memory or has not enough CPU cycle, it cannot handle too many traffics, too many users, that is just a physical limitation of that web server. Okay, or maybe my load balancing is not working properly, my load balancing algorithm is not good enough to handle thousands of users at a time. So that is just an inefficient design, or you can just say design fault or whatever you say. So this is not an attack. But if I can somehow control the load balancer and I can change the algorithm of the load balancing algorithm, then definitely this is an attack. Okay, so hopefully I have answered correctly, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, so what is security services? So we have already said three things at the beginning here, right? Security attack, security mechanisms, and security services. So we have explained the attacks in details. Mechanism, I think we are not explaining that much here. And so what is security service? Remember that security service is from user's point of view. So this is defined by X800, also defined by RFC 4949. So in X800, they have said this is a service provided by a protocol layer of communicating open systems that ensures adequate security of the systems or of data transfer. Whatever, that means during processing and data transfer, it is providing some security services. And in RFC 4949, a processing or communication service. I think we have studied this definition earlier because it says both processing and communication services. Okay. Now, I think we can skip this table. Definitely, we are not going to memorize all these details. No need. Okay. Before that, let me explain this table. This is from the book, okay? So what is the relationship between security services and security mechanisms? So this is, here they have given some list of security services. Say, for example, confidentiality. I have mentioned it as an example, right? So for confidentiality, we need encryption or encipherment. Same thing. Remember that encryption or encipherment, same thing. That's why they have given Y here. So if you want to provide confidentiality service, you need encipherment mechanism. Also, you need some routing control. So this is another mechanism. Or say, for example, for data origin authentication. Data origin authentication means who has originated this data. So we need encipherment, that is again encryption, but only encryption is not enough. We also need digital signature. That's why for data origin authentication, we need these two mechanisms. So from this table, you can easily understand what is the relationship between service and mechanisms.
স্যার ফার্স্ট পয়েন্ট একটু এক্সপ্লেন করা যাবে, পেয়ার এন্টিটি অথেন্টিকেশন?
Peer entity authentication means, first of all, what is peer? Peer means equal. Say one student is peer to another student. So Alice and Bob, they are sending messages, so they are peer to one another. So if I want to make sure the identity of that peer, so Alice is claiming, okay, I am Alice, but I want to make sure, okay, this is really Alice. So I can use encryption or encipherment. I can also use digital signature, and I can also use some kind of authentication exchange. That is called peer authentication. And sometimes this is very obvious, like say, for example, access control is a service. At the same time, access control is a mechanism. Okay. So that's it, like how, or say for example, traffic flow confidentiality. So definitely we need encryption. Without encryption, we cannot provide traffic flow confidentiality. But more than that, we also need padding. Okay, so padding is added in every traffic to hide the length of a data packet, the length of the traffic. Okay. So again, we will explain everything. Okay, so don't worry about these things, and hopefully I'm not asking you any question that I like that I'm not going to explain in the class. So whatever I have explained here, only those things you have to understand. So don't worry about like this table or any other definitions. So now if we go back here, so these are the services. Remember that here, like they have identified, I think, 5 services, and then each category they have identified. So for example, the one you just asked, that peer entity authentication, it is here. What is peer entity authentication? So in this table, you will find all the security services. So the first one is authentication. So what is authentication? This is concerned with assuring that a communication is authentic. So in case of a single message, in case of a single message, it assures the recipient that the message is from the source that it claims to be. That means, say I am saying I am Alice, so I have to prove, look, I am truly I am. So that is in case of a single message. But in case of ongoing interaction, we have to assure that 2 entities are authentic and the connection is not interfered with in such a way that a third party can masquerade as one of the 2 legitimate parties. That means Alice and Bob, they are communicating, so no third party will be able to intercept their message. Okay, so here they have differentiated, or they have identified 2 kind of authentication. One is peer entity authentication and another one is data origin authentication. So what is the difference? The peer entity authentication, I think they have said here, used in the association with logical communication. Okay, let me explain my own word. So peer entity authentication means you want to just authenticate the identity of that end or that user, just the identity. Say for example, I am typing my username and password. So that means I know the password, and the password must be known only by the user. So from that conclusion, we can conclude, okay, truly Alice or Bob or anyone like who is claiming is at that end. Or I know some specific PIN number. So this PIN number is secret and only the user should know this PIN number. So that means the user is using his card. It's not like that the card is being used by a third party. So that is PR entity authentication. And data origin authentication is more than that. Data origin authentication means I am sending some data, but the receiver end wants to make sure who has originated this data. For example, say I am issuing a bank check, and maybe I am handovering this check to a third person, to someone else, to a carrier, to a bearer. So the bank authority, they must make sure that I have issued this check. No one else has just taken my checkbook and written that check. So what is the way, or how can they make sure that I have issued this check? What is the proof? Can anybody tell me? ব্যাংকের লোকজন কিভাবে করে বুঝে যে এই চেকটা আসলে এই অ্যাকাউন্টের যে হোল্ডার সে হচ্ছে চেকটা ইস্যু করছে?
By signature.
By yes, exactly, by comparing the signature. So that is the one kind of data origin authentication. That is, the check has been issued by the account holder. Okay, so in case of communication, when we are sending some data, we add something with the data so that the receiver can make sure who has originated this data. Okay, so that is the difference between PR entity authentication and data origin authentication. So you can just think that PR entity authentication is the identity authentication. Just you want to make sure the identity, that's it, nothing else. But data origin authentication, you want to make sure who has originated this data. Now, access control is the ability to limit and control the access to some host systems. So you want to maybe some whitelist and blacklist type. So only the persons or only the entity who is in the whitelist or who has permission to access this service or resource or communication, whatever, only they will be allowed to access. So that is called access control. So to achieve this, each entity trying to gain access must first be identified or authenticated. So authentication is the first step or of access control. Okay, say for example, you are a student of UIU. So you can say you want to enter into the campus. So you can show your ID and you can prove your identity. So you are authenticated. Fine. But that does not mean you have access to all the premises, all the rooms, all the labs of the university. Okay. So as a graduate student, right now we don't have, but we might have some specific labs for the graduate students. some specific labs for the undergraduate students. So as a graduate student, you will be allowed to enter the graduate lab, maybe not the undergraduate lab. So you are authenticated because you are an existing student of this university. You have the proper ID, so you can be authenticated easily. But you may not have permission to use all the resources. Okay, so that is called access control or access right. But to ensure access control, you have to implement authentication first. So there are many popular ways for access control, and one of the popular ways is role-based access control, okay, which is known as RBAC. So depending on the role, you will have your access control. Okay, and in case of database or other servers, or even say for example if you log into your UCAM, you will find few tabs. If you log in using my username and password, you will find more tabs. Okay, because in my role, I have access to more services. Okay, so that is one kind of access control. And RBAC, RBAC, or role-based access control, this is a popular way to provide access control. There are some other methods, but this is very popular. So the next one is data confidentiality. We have already explained some part. So the protection of transmitted data from passive attack. And the another one is the protection of traffic from analysis. So this passive attack means the first attack, okay, the release of message content. So the broadest service protects all users' data transmitted between two users over a period of time. And narrower forms of service includes the protection of a single message or even specific fields within a message. So you can have some fine-grained encryption. That means sometimes we don't encrypt the whole message, because in the whole message we have some header portion and we have some like non-sensitive data portion. Say for example your username or your email address, you don't have to encrypt those things because those are already public data, public information. But your password or your attachment of the email or your body of the email, maybe you want to encrypt those things. So that's why sometimes we don't encrypt the whole message. Instead of that, we encrypt some portion of the messages. Now, about the traffic flow analysis. So this requires that an attacker not be able to observe the source and destination. So the attacker cannot observe the original source, the destination, the frequency, the length of the traffic, or other characteristics of the traffic on a communication facility. So we cannot like make sure everything. This is very difficult. Say, I'm not sure whether you are aware of Tor browsers. Okay, so maybe you have heard the name, or just after the course, after the lecture, you can Google the Tor browsers. So the Tor browsers can even hide the source and destination. So if someone tries to capture your traffic, but you are using Tor browsers, then the attacker will not understand the actual source and destination. Why? Because it will redirect your traffic from maybe from Bangladesh to another country, then from another country to another country, and it will like appear that your traffic is originated maybe from Sweden, but originally it has been originated from Bangladesh. So when the attacker will look at the traffic, the attacker will see, okay, the traffic is from Sweden, but maybe the traffic is from Bangladesh. So that can even hide the source and destination too. But normally we cannot hide source and destination, or maybe it's difficult to hide frequency. Maybe you can hide, maybe you can add some false data, so the attacker will receive those false data and the attacker cannot understand the actual frequency. Okay, but very popular method is hiding the length. This is very easy. So for hiding the length, we add padding. Okay, so padding means through padding we hide the actual length of the traffic. Say we can say, okay, every traffic will be length of 1000 bytes. So if this is less than 1000 byte, padding will add some extra byte and it will convert the traffic to 1000 byte. So the attacker cannot understand the actual length of the traffic. Okay, so that means there are some ways so that we can make the attacker fool. That's the main idea. Okay, so we can even, what I have just said, we can redirect the traffic from one location to another location, then to another location, so that we can hide the actual source and destination. This is one method. Okay, or we can add padding. We can add padding to hide the actual length of the packet. Okay, so that is another method. So all these methods are how we can protect from traffic flow analysis. Now the next one is data integrity. So we can apply to a stream of messages a single message or selected field. Okay, let me see what we have. So I think we have two things here. One is connection oriented integrity and another one is connectionless integrity. So connection oriented integrity service, one that deals with a stream of messages, assures that messages are received as sent with no duplication, insertion, modification, reordering. And connectionless integrity service, one that deals with individual messages without regard to any larger context, generally provides protection against message modification only. Okay, so from these two definitions, I cannot explain everything from here. Okay, so
এটা একটু ডিফিকাল্ট মনে হচ্ছে, বুঝতে একটু সমস্যা হচ্ছে।
no, this is not difficult. Like we have to go through the textbook. Okay, so in the next class, I will explain this again. This part, the connection oriented and connectionless integrity. Okay, because I have some definition in my mind, but that does not actually match exactly what they are saying. Okay, so I'm skipping that slide. We will come back again in our next lecture. So what is non-repudiation? So non-repudiation means when I am taking part to a communication. For example, I am ordering something through online, or I am sending some message to a server. Whatever it is, I am taking part to a communication. Later, I cannot deny my participation. If I can deny, then we say I have violated the non-repudiation. So non-repudiation will prevent both sender and receiver from denying a transmitted message. So sender has transmitted some message. Later, he cannot deny, look, I did not transmit. Okay. So when a message is sent, the receiver can prove that the alleged sender in fact sent the message. When a message is received, the sender can prove that the alleged receiver in fact received the message. So why do we need non-repudiation? Non-repudiation is very important in case of e-commerce protocols. Say you have ordered something through some e-commerce website, and when you have received your order, then you are denying, look, I did not order this thing. Okay. Or maybe you have ordered a white shirt and they have sent you a red shirt, and the seller, they are claiming, look, you actually ordered the red shirt. So they are denying what they received from your side. So both parties, they cannot deny later that we actually did not receive or we did not send these messages. So that is called non-repudiation. We have already described the availability. So it protects a system to ensure its availability. This service addresses the security concern raised by denial of service. So availability and denial of service, they are like opposite to one another, right? So using DOS attack, we want to stop availability. That's the main idea. So it depends on proper management and control of system resources, and thus depend on access control service and other security services. So if your access control is not properly in place, then some attacker can gain access to your system. Okay, and that attacker then create denial of service attack. So that's why they have said they are related. Okay, access control, denial of service, and availability of services. So here we have listed some security mechanisms. So I think we have already explained some of them, that is encipherment, digital signature, access control, data integrity. Okay, and then we explained the relationship between security services and the security mechanisms. So I think we are almost at the end. So here we have a model for network security. The model is, we have a sender here and we have some recipient here. So the sender wants to send some message, but the information channel is not secured. So there are some opponent here. Opponent means attacker. So the information channel is a public channel. So when we say public, that means anyone can access that information channel. For example, the internet. Internet is a public network, right? Anyone can access to the internet. You cannot prevent, you cannot say, okay, I am using internet to send some information, but I can guarantee that there will be no attacker. This is not a practical assumption. So whenever you are sending something through a public channel, that means you have to understand there might be some opponent or some attacker. So if you want to send some message, you should not send the message in plain text. Plain text means, we will explain these terms later, okay, so don't worry. But plain text means something that is easily readable. So if an attacker can capture a plain text message, the attacker can easily understand the meaning or what is inside the message. So that's why we want to create some secure message. So what can we
Sir,
do?
can it be a code?
Sorry?
Sir, we will use some codes for this.
We will use some encryption technique or some other techniques, okay?
Okay. It will convert it into an unreadable form.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
the popular method is we can use encryption. So the encryption will convert message to a secure message. So, but the idea is you need two things. One is you need some transformation, that means the algorithm, and you need some secret information, or you can think some key, say K. K is the key. So that secret information must be shared between the sender and the receiver. So both of them should know the algorithm or the transformation you are using, and also the secret information or the key you are using. So using that transformation or encryption algorithm, you can say, for example, and the secret information, you convert the message to a secure message. Now, the opponent can capture this secure message, but the opponent cannot understand the content or what is the meaning of this secure message. Why? Because the opponent does not know this specific key. Remember that this security related transformation or the algorithm is not a secret thing. The encryption method or the algorithm you are using, most of the times this is known to everybody because we use some standard algorithm. That's why the algorithm is always known to everybody, but the key we are using, that must be secret. So say for example, if they use the same key, then we say this is a symmetric encryption. They can use a different key, whatever the method is. There should be some algorithm and some secret information. So this is a general model for security. And on top of that, we have some trusted third party. So what is the role of this trusted third party? One role is distributor. That means we are assuming only the sender and the receiver, they know the secret information. But the question is, how can they get this secret information? So we need some trusted third party who will distribute this secret information. Say for example, you have a bank card or ATM card or maybe a credit card. So the question is, how can you receive the secret PIN of that card? Maybe there is some secured postal service, and through that secured postal service, you will receive your secret PIN by post. Maybe, okay. So then that postal service is working as a trusted third party. So this is one of the function of the trusted third party, to distribute secret information. Okay. And another function of the trusted third party is sometimes they work as an arbiter. So the work of the arbiter is, if there is any dispute, then the arbiter will resolve that dispute. Okay, so say for example, you have a credit card, and if you find some transaction in your card, but you have not made those transactions, so then maybe you can complain, and the credit card company will collect all your information and they will send your information to an arbiter. So then the arbiter will give a verdict whether you made that transaction or not. So if you actually made that transaction, then you will have to pay. But if you had not made that transaction, then they will give a verdict, okay, no, the user should not pay for that transaction. So that is also another word of the trusted third party. Okay. So that's the model of for network security, and I think yeah, we are done. Here we have some standardization body. They have made a list of a standardization body. The first one is NIST. The word we used, NIST is for National Institute of Standards and Technology. So this is mainly based on USA, and they work for the US government. And the standard they publish is known as FIPS. FIPS is Federal Information Processing Standard. And a very popular standard is, if I'm not wrong, okay, because sometimes I cannot recall properly, if I'm not wrong, FIPS 80 is for data encryption standard, the DES standard, which is a very popular specification. So they publish time to time different standard, but mainly for US government. And then there is ISOC. ISOC is the Internet Society, or you can consider IETF. They are mainly same body, okay. And then there is ITUT. ITUT is mainly based on, if I'm not wrong, European standardization body, and they have some standard. And then there is ISO, okay. And there are also some other standardization body, like for web, I think we have WASIS. There is one standardization body. They have some popular standard too. And there is 3GPP for mobile phone network, like 5G, 4G, those standardized. Okay. So there are a bunch of standardization bodies. So this is the summary. So that's end. So any other question? I have to give your attendance now.
No, sir.
Okay. Okay, so give me your attendance. Sudip Kumar,
Yes, sir.
Abdullah Hil Farooq,
Yes, sir.
somehow you denied my Abdullah Hil Farooq. Somehow
Yes, sir.
you denied my invitation. I have no idea. Okay, I will try to send you invitation again. Okay.
Okay, okay.
Shariar Alam,
Present, sir.
Sohel Parvez,
Yes, sir. Present, sir.
okay. Ben Lira, এত noise, লা মাথা খারাপ হয়েছে। Lira,
Sir.
Sonia Akhtar,
Yes, sir.
Tawkir Ahmed, Sabrina,
Present, sir.
Farhin Onti,
Present, sir.
Pintu Kumar,
Yes, sir.
Tahmida,
Yes, sir.
Sabrina Tarannum. Oh, we have two Sabrina.
Sabrina Maulana. Present, sir.
Tanzilal Hussein Mugdha. Okay, we have another Sabrina. My God, this is সাবরিনা, নাওরিন, সুমনা।
Yes, sir.
আচ্ছা, ওকে। আর কেউ কি আছেন? তৌকির আহমেদ, মুগ্ধ, কেউই নাই। আচ্ছা, ওকে। So you can leave now. I'm stopping the recording.